Hi, my name is Claire Ramirez. I am the owner and editor of the Scout Guide West Texas, and I'm excited to be this week's guest on the catwalk.
The Catwalk is proud to partner with Second Story Co-working and the Second Story Studio in downtown Midland. Second Story Co-working provides fully furnished offices, open workspace, and multiple conference rooms for your business. Consider Second Story Co-working today. Visit them at secondstory.co, where premium space comes with flexible agreements. If you tell good stories and let people into your process, they will connect with you beyond just buying what you are selling. Choose the Catwalk Media Group, where good storytelling will set you apart. Check us out at catwalkmediagroup.com. Well, I'm so grateful that you are joining with us today again. My name is Jay Whitlow, your host. I'm joined, as always, across the room by Chris Stegall, our producer. And I am so excited to welcome today our special guest. This is Claire Ramirez. Welcome to the Catwalk.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. I know we're going to talk about the Scout Guide, which is a great book, magazine product that you've got coming out. And I want to talk about the launch event. We want to talk about you and your journey. But first off, we got to talk about something that we have in common, and that is our love for Mickey Mouse.
Yes, I love Disney. We had so much fun this year.
So spring break,
yes.
I think you guys went. So tell me, was it hot? What were the lines like?
You know, for Texas, it was cold. You know, we felt.
Was it?
Oh yeah, it was not bad at all. I mean, I think we started the day in sweatshirts. You know, my kids have been begging to go. I hadn't been for years, and wasn't something that we really thought we would make happen. But then my husband decided he wanted to go to a tennis tournament in California around spring break. And I was like, we can't drag our kids for their spring break to a tennis tournament, but maybe we can tag on Disney and feel like we were still good parents. So
that was the way to get them excited about a tennis tournament.
It was exactly.
Are you a thrill seeker? Are you a roller coaster riding girl? Or
Yes, and what was so fun is I have a 6-year-old and 4-year-old, a 5 and 3 at the time, and my 3-year-old rode every single roller coaster in Disney and at Universal.
Right.
She loves the roller coasters. And so it was so funny. There'd be people that would see us in line, and she was just barely tall enough to do all these big rides. And people would be like, you can't be scared. Look at that little girl. She's riding it. You can ride it.
What a hero.
Yeah.
Now, are you the family that dresses in all the Mickey Mouse shirts and the ears and the whole thing, and that has a shirt that says the Ramirez family thing? Are you those guys?
You know, I wish I could say we were, but no, I was finding outfits like the night before. But, you know, they were, we all coordinated a little bit, you know, because maybe that's going to be our Christmas card this year or something.
Right.
But no, we didn't have the, you know, if lost or found, you know, call this number T-shirt or anything like that.
Do you plan your own trip there, or do you hire somebody out to do that? Because my wife loves to plan our trip for us, and I'm like, you should go into business.
Yes.
Planning trips for people.
Yes, that's a big deal, because for some people that's daunting, and for me it kind of was, especially with Disney. I don't know a lot of like what, you know, you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, and so we were lucky enough to get someone to kind of take care of all of that for us.
You said it's been a while since you've been. Do you remember back when you last went?
So I've never been to Disneyland. That was my very first time. But I'd gone to Disney World as an adult with my family. My parents had decided to take all of the grandkids kind of right when they started having grandkids.
Right.
So that was now 10 or so years ago.
Oh, wow.
And then I went as a child, 7.
We went for our anniversary.
Okay.
When we got married. We've also taken the kids. But probably the most recent time we were at Disney World when the world shut down for COVID. We were in line for the new Star Wars.
No way.
And everybody's going, what's this talk about the world shutting down and, like 15 days or 2 weeks to whatever. And we're like, what? We're at Disney World. We can't leave. And so they started announcing that they're going to shut everything down. And so we're like, how are we going to get home? And it was crazy. And we got to the airport, and it was as quiet and dead as all get out.
Chills.
And you know how Orlando's airport is just crazy.
Yes.
So that's our famous little
I heard that was like the
remembrance.
best time to go when it started opening it back up because not a lot of people were there. You didn't have the
So
lines.
it was crazy. But I know our guests, our viewers, listeners may not know much about you. They may not know much about the Scout Guide. So let's give them an opportunity to learn about you. So walk me through, where are you from, Claire? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, so I'm from right here in Midland, born and raised. I was homeschooled till 7th grade. I'm one of 5 children. My mom was a very brave woman, but her and my father kind of were motivated to find a school that they were proud of to send us to. So they helped start Midland Classical. So in 7th grade, I went to Midland Classical, graduated there and went to Baylor. At Baylor, I got a communications marketing degree and got very interested into politics. Started working my senior year for the congressman there, and really loved the event side. So I didn't know much what that would look like for my future, but I knew I wanted to do event planning, but I wasn't sure if it was with politics. I ended up going to Houston, and I stayed in the event world, but I went to I started working for Kendra Scott and was her event planner there in the Rice Village location, and really enjoyed the logistics sides and the planning side of a business. So I always had that interest. And after I left there, I went into a marketing role at another company, and that's when this marketing kind of interest started to develop as well. So I was like, okay, marketing and event planning. I felt like anytime I had a job, it was one or the other. It was either really heavy marketing or I had the event job, and it was all events.
Okay.
And so I never felt totally fulfilled in that moment, in those moments. But I knew I liked both of those, but I just never could marry them together. I got married, and my husband is from South Texas, and we knew we wanted to be near family, and
Right.
I won the rock, scissors, paper, and we're in Midland. And so I came to Midland, and I started a business called the Pop Spot Midland with a friend, and then also started side job on social media roles for different companies around town.
Right.
One being Mayor Payton. I worked his social media during the shutdown, which was
Right.
very interesting. I got to see a lot of sides of our city and the stress that went on with that when you have a public role like he had, and a lot of growing and learning happened there of like how to handle crisis. That was something I never dealt with, and being able to see how to deal with it on such a high level was rewarding in its own. And then in 2021, I purchased the Scout Guide, West Texas, and it has been such a reward from there.
Now, there's a lot to unpack there, so I want to go back.
Yeah.
Midland Classical.
Yes.
My kids went there.
Oh, okay.
My wife was a tutor, teacher,
Yes,
whatever,
yes.
the grammar and stuff. So you were one of the first students
I
through that
was.
program. What do you see Midland Classical now than it was when you first started?
Oh, it's
How much has it
amazing.
grown?
Oh, it's huge now. I mean, I was one of the larger classes. I think I had 26. And I think their classes are similar now, their graduating classes. I'm not 100% sure. But it was such a great experience. I mean, I always say, like, I had such true friends, and I had teachers or tutors that truly cared about me. And it's to this day, I'll see them around town, and I just almost get emotional because
Yeah.
they cared about me as a person and who I became, and that was really clear. Now their campus is beautiful.
It has gotten beautiful.
It is crazy from what, I mean, I walked across, sticker fields to go to class, and now these kids have
True.
turf and
Yeah.
these fun play areas and wings, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot larger. That baseball field, I mean, that was nothing when we were there, but
Yeah.
at the time, I don't think I saw it as a teenager. I thought I just wanted to go to the big, cool school in my head.
Yeah.
And but then looking back, and when I got to college, I didn't have all the influences of drinking and cussing and doing things I shouldn't be doing at my age when I was at Midland. I was really in a bubble, but it was a safe bubble, and I felt like looking back, it was really a good
Right.
place for me.
Now, you went to Baylor.
I did
And your degree was in
communication marketing.
communication marketing. And so my son is at Tech, and he's
Okay.
doing the restaurant, hotel,
Oh,
institutional
cool.
management.
Yeah.
And he texted me the other day, and he goes, "Dad, I got to drop this class."
Oh, no.
And I said, "What class do you need to drop?" And he goes, "It's hospitality and event venue management." He goes, "I'm in with a bunch of girls that want to be wedding planners."
Oh, yeah, I
And
bet.
I'm like, "Well, this is great.
You'll meet someone.
Why don't you want to be in a class with a bunch of girls?" And so he's like, I can't. So I was like, "Well, let's find you another class
Yeah.
to go to."
Yeah.
That was an elective, but I thought it was just so funny. And then when you mentioned that, the event planning, and I'm like, I don't think that's really where he wants to go.
I can see,
So,
yeah.
Okay, so you're back here in Midland. You have launched a couple of businesses. You're doing the work for former Mayor Payton and doing his social media. The world shut down. We got back into swing of things. And then what led you to want to launch the Scout Guide?
So I really came to a why in my life. I had I stepped back from PopSpot and sold my portion back to the owner, and I kind of was like, didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I wanted to work full time. I had small children. But I knew I loved West Texas. I love supporting small. And all of my friends were just so blown away that that's where we had chosen to move. We could go anywhere. We were working remotely. And but it was a clear answer to both me and my husband that we wanted to raise our family here. And so we ended up being here for a few years. I knew it was time to start something new, and that's when the Scout Guide was brought to my attention from a friend. And at first, I wasn't sure if it was exactly what I wanted to do, but they ended up reaching out to me, and I met with their headquarters of the Scout Guide in Charlottesville, and it was very clear that this role was made for me.
Okay. Now this probably aligns with your vision from what you did at Baylor and some of the things that you've done as an entrepreneur and launching that. When I first heard the Scout Guide several years ago, I think how many volumes do you have now?
3.
3. So when you first did it, somebody was like, "Hey, have you heard of the Scout Guide?" And I'm like, "Boy Scouts?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" So
Yeah.
I didn't know. So walk me through, because you've talked about the headquarters in South Carolina.
Charlottesville, yeah.
Charlottesville. So walk me through, what is the Scout Guide? What is its purpose?
Okay, the Scout Guide is a book or a guide of local businesses in your area. So my job is to go out and find great businesses that maybe we're driving by every day and we don't know that they exist. Or myself was in a pattern. I was going to Murray's every week. That was where I went to lunch, when there are so many other options right here in our community. So my job is to educate you on how to support local too. A lot of times people will complain about our roads, our playgrounds, saying, how poor shape they are. But yet when it comes Christmas time, they're jumping on their plane and going to Dallas and doing all of their Christmas shopping there. So one of the first things I learned when I started doing the Scout Guide is oil was up. And I was meeting with a business member, and I said, "I bet you're doing great. Oil's up. I bet your business is booming." They said, "Absolutely. It's the opposite."
Wow.
This was a florist in town. And she said, instead of people caring about their house here, they're at their second home in,
Sure.
Horseshoe Bay, and that's the house that they care that looks like. Or, shopping, for example, they're not buying clothes locally, even though they can buy those same brands here. They go to Dallas or they're going to Austin and making a trip out of it. And even down to hiring architects from outside of our area when we have great architects right here locally. And so when I heard that, it kind of spurred a fire underneath me, like, okay, I need to teach people. Like, if you love Midland and Odessa so much, you need to make sure that you're investing your money here as well. And there's little things that we can do, from using a local pharmacist to buying your stamps from the pack and mail. These people are on your sidelines of your kids' sports teams or at your church in your pew. And there's something really rewarding in knowing that you're helping someone build their dream.
That's really interesting, because we wanted to start this podcast, as others are also doing, to introduce people to Midland and things that are here. I mean, the people that I've had on the show over the last year or so, I didn't know who they were, or I've heard of them, knew what their business was, but didn't really know why they started the business. I think it's great that if we have something to offer here, right? Just like you were talking about, why go to Dallas? Dallas is great. There's things to do there and stuff, but why not support this community. And so as I've learned a little bit more through the years of volume 1, 2, and 3, what you're doing, I think, is pivotal to making Midland be a place that people want to live. I had the mayor on a couple weeks
Yes.
ago, and I asked her this question. I want to ask you this. So, because I'm not a Midlander, you're from Midland, you moved away, you came back. So I've heard that if you're bringing a new person in, an executive or a pastor or a business leader or a young family, fly them in at night.
Yeah.
You've heard that, right?
Of course, yeah.
What does that say to you? What do you want to say to somebody who's like, yeah, let's bring them in at night so nobody sees what the city looks like?
Well, Midland's unique. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that it's just this beautiful, lush land. It's
Sure.
not, right? But what makes it so beautiful are the people here. There's a great saying in Midland: you cry coming and you cry leaving. And I think there's nothing truer than that. I have so many friends who came here not knowing a soul, and they were just so sad, that they had been drug here from Dallas, Houston, Austin. And but I have a friend recently who's moving back to Houston, and they're devastated. They're leaving a community that they never thought that they would have. I mean, it's a unique place here. People don't understand it until you step in and you
Right.
really pour yourself in. Now, you do have to try. You can't just move here and do your own thing. I mean, you got to put your kid on those soccer teams, and you got to talk to the parents when they're on there. You got to join the PTA. You do have to put yourself out, but people are anxious and excited to meet new people. I love meeting someone who's new to Midland. Nothing brings me more joy, because I make it a mission for them to love it as much as me.
So tell me who's in the Scout Guide. What would I find in as I flip through the pages?
So all different types of businesses. I mean, the most obvious ones are going to be retail, restaurants, things like that. But we have a great healthcare representation in the guide. Lots of health opportunities and options that we maybe didn't know about. There's a great lymphatic massage lady that is such an upcoming trend that we are finding is really helping you with just your all around health. And I don't think anyone would ever really know about it unless they were able to see it in the guide. There's some jokes in my friends group that they'll say, "Oh, don't tell Claire about it. She'll put it in the guide and then you'll never be able to get in." And I get it. But at the same time, I'm really big about sharing about good things. I don't ever want to gatekeep, or what they call,
Right.
I think it's really important when you find something great to share it with your friends and your family so that they can also experience and support it.
That's a great point. Now, recently you had a launch party for the color of the book.
I did.
I know we're going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about the launch of the book, but why a launch party for the color, and why different colors? What's the reasoning there?
That's a great question. So we do a launch for the guide's color as just an excitement to get people to know more about the guide, also to put more exposure on our businesses. When people came to this last party, the boardroom with Soul hosted the event during their farmers market. And what was so great was so many people were coming in to the space and being like, "I have never heard of the Scout Guide," or the opposite, saying, I've never been to the farmers market." And so it's a great way for us to get out in front of more eyes and give my members more exposure. We had a big table full of promo items that people were able to make their own swag bag. And it was
cool.
all from members in the guide that were able to advertise themselves in front of 6,000 patrons that they would have never had the opportunity to advertise with.
Who chooses the color?
I get to choose the color. So, some of the guide to 90 plus cities. So
Okay.
it's all across the US. Some editors, that stresses them out, and they will think, and I will get so many text messages being like, "Do you think this is a good color? Do you think that's a good color?"
Right.
My theory is a little different. I always want to have a bright color because I want people to be able to recognize it and see it. As much as I would love to do a neutral's going to fade into your dentist's office waiting room,
Right.
I also will never do like a hot pink or a purple because I want it to be gender neutral. I want a man to want to pick it up as much as a female would want to pick it up. And a lot of guides across the country will do like hot pinks and things, but I think because of that, their audience is a lot more female driven.
Right. Now you have a few
I do.
guides with us.
I do.
And I'm seeing a green. That was the
Yes.
first one. And then blue and then red.
Yes.
So this is the 4th edition that comes out this year.
No,
3rd edition.
I'm giving y'all a sneak peek.
So we're going to see. So this bottom color is
the new one.
and it's red.
And it's red.
Why did you choose red?
You know, the truth
is this your Texas Tech background?
I mean, it might be. My dad would be proud. No, you know, I am a party girl, like we talked about. I love throwing an event. And originally, I was going to do orange. And then one day, I was scrolling through Pinterest, as I do, to get inspiration. And I saw this European themed party. And that's where it all started to change. So I went into the launch party for the guide when I was doing the color. I thought it was going to be orange, but like 2 days before the event, I switched everything and we went red.
So red is the color. You want to hold up?
Yeah, I can show
the
it.
Guide and show.
And it's a light ballet pink stripe.
Yeah.
So I try to still go with the trend of. I mean, the Scout Guide is a very pretty book.
Do all of them look like that, like across the country?
Yes, we all have the gold foil. We all have the same. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it has the gold foil, and we all have the same format where it has the ribbon. We say that it's like wrapped like a bow, is what their thought is.
Now, how does the local public get their hands on this guide?
So they're mailed out across Midland, Odessa, based on where you live and house values, things like that. You know, and then we also have them within all of our members, and even non-members have them inside of like waiting rooms at, I kind of mentioned at his dentist office, or you can get them at Murray's when you're waiting in line to order your food. We have them anywhere and everywhere. One of our partners is the Museum of the Southwest.
Right.
And they've been great to hand them out at, you know, their different functions that they host and things like that.
So it would, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not a book of like discounts.
No.
You're not going to find, hey, tear this page off for 10% off at Murray's or whatever.
Yeah,
it is strictly a book to highlight entrepreneurs, businesses in town. It's not a, you know what I'm talking about, like a book that, and I'm sure those are great and they're out there, but that's not what this one is.
What's great about the guide is you get it and you don't throw it away. So, you know, this is something people are putting in their guest room, or, you know, that's something I get all the time is like, I had a grandmother reach out to me this year at Christmas, and she wanted to give a Scout Guide in all of the stockings for her grandchildren who had grown up in Midland, but now are in different places. And so I was able to give her the Scout Guide, and she was able to give it out, and they could take it home with them and have a little piece of home. I get it all the time for Airbnb. They ask to have it in their guide because it's a great place for people to find out where to eat and drink while they're in town. Same with the Marriott. They also have it for those reasons.
Okay. And we've talked about the launch event. When is that event and how can I attend?
Great. So our event is September 12th at the brand new Summit Center, which we're really excited about that partnership. It's going to be just absolutely stunning. We've been going, you know, every few days, and every time we go, it looks like they've been working nonstop since we left. I mean, it is just almost done. So what's real exciting about this launch is we are the first event at the park. And so it's a great way to come see it before a lot of other eyes have. I mean, the amount of space that they have created that I don't think people realize is going to blow people's minds. I mean, it is going to be the place to be on the weekend with your children and your families and date nights. I mean, they have lush lawns and
pickleball.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, the pickleball is great, and they have a lot of pickleball.
Yeah,
so.
I need to do that. What's a win for somebody to be in the guide? Right? If you're sitting out there and you're like, hey, I'm starting a new business, I've got this restaurant, I've never been in the guide, I don't know what I should do in the guide, should I be in the guide, should I not be in the guide? What's a win? And do you have a couple of success stories that you've heard from people that have been premiered in the book?
So I always say that, you know, you want to have an established business, meaning I want you to have been in business for a few years, you know, because as much as I would love to have every business in the guide, it's important that you are ready for the exposure that it's going to bring. You know, that's one thing I've learned is I've put business in too early, and then they're getting all the calls, you know, that they wanted to, you know, come and see them, and they realize we don't have the manpower to handle all this.
Wow.
And so, and then it ends up being stressful for that owner, and it ends up being stressful to the reader, because they're calling and they're saying, hey, they can't get me for 5 months, or whatever the case may be. So we've learned that. We've also learned that some businesses need to be on a shared page, where other businesses need to be on their own page. What I do is I do specialized shared pages. So like one of the pages in my guide is called a party people page, I think is what I've called it this year. And it's just a way for you to know who to hire for a party you're going to have. So there's a caterer on there, there's a bartender, but then there's also balloons and snow cones, and it's a whole list of people that you would need if you're throwing a party for you and your friends or for you and your kids.
Right. Well, I've got to ask you about something you mentioned earlier. You love to throw parties, right?
Yes.
You're the party girl. When you said that, I was like, party girl? What? Oh, the party girl, throwing the parties and stuff. Is there a celebrity out there that you would love to throw a party for and or have coffee with, or just just kind of showcase them? Is there anybody you can think of?
Well, I can say I was really jealous. Velvet Mesquite got to throw the McConaughey quinceañera this year, and that was cool. So she had, Brewster McConaughey, but then also Matthew was in town, and it just looked like such an event. So I wanted to be on the fly on the wall so badly during those planning meetings and such. It's very cool that she got to do that.
That's cool. I would love to have stumbled in on.
I know,
with my microphone and gone, hey, can I get a all right? Can I get a little interview there? So, what's the worst part about a family reunion?
Ooh, I mean, seeing the cousins you haven't seen in a long time. I mean, that's a great thing, I guess. I had our first family reunion.
That one uncle.
The one uncle.
Yeah.
The food. What's Aunt Sally making she brought from her freezer?
What's your favorite day of the week that you can get a lot done on? I know you're a mom.
Yes.
Got a couple kids.
I do.
Got the husband that's busy. You're busy with this business. What's your favorite day of the week?
I really like to get a lot done at the beginning of the week. Then I can kind of rest assured the rest of the week that I've really hit the marks. I work really hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, knowing that I am going to have kid activities and, school functions and, just other responsibilities coming heavier at the end of the week. Yeah. And so the more I can do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the better. Now today I was supposed to work all morning and really get my email under control. You know how they just get out of control so quickly.
Yeah.
But then I got a surprise call that my guide was coming. And so I had to get
this is hot off the press, right?
Yes, I got it this morning. Wow. And it was a big surprise. A huge semi showed up with 25,000 guides that are now all in my garage.
Better hope nobody breaks in, right?
Well, they probably wouldn't want those. But
let me ask you, I want to spend some time just talking about you. Thank you for sharing about the guide, and we'll put in the show notes how people can attend. They have to buy tickets, I'm assuming, to go to that.
Yes, I'll have a link. It's in my website and on my Instagram.
What do you do well when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to leading your teams? What is the one thing you do well?
I have a blessing and a curse there in the fact that I love to work hard. I love to blow people's expectations. But sometimes I'm not great at delegating. And so even though I can do it, and I know I can, it's at the consequence of losing time with my children or my husband. And so it's like a strength, because everyone will say, how did you do all that? How are you doing everything? And now I've gotten smarter and older, and I've hired a team. So now I have about 6 girls who work with me, and that's relieved a lot of that just need to feel like I needed to have control on everything. But I am always the first one to volunteer. I'm always the first one to raise my hand. I'm not scared to tell my opinion if I think it's going to help a business or an organization better themselves. But I do think sometimes that can be a curse. I think it runs in my blood. My dad is an entrepreneur. My brother is an entrepreneur. And there's several entrepreneurs in my family. And I think that's something we all struggle with a little too much, is just not being able to let go.
Right. How involved are you in the community?
Very involved. I serve on Midland Children's Rehab Center.
Okay, yeah.
I I am a volunteer at our parents program at my kids' school.
Right.
We're involved in our church. Our kids are playing a million different sports.
Yeah.
I'm learning to say no instead of yes. I had a rule when I moved to Midland. I was always going to say yes. If I got invited, I said yes. And the reason was that is I didn't know a lot of people, and it got me very involved, and it got me to meet a lot of people. But now I have now learned I need to kind of step back a little. I'm in a new chapter of life. My kids are starting to be a lot more involved themselves. And so now it's their turn.
And one day you'll be an empty nester like me.
Oh, don't say that. Remember, we don't like that word.
We don't like that word, but everybody keeps bringing it up, and so I'm like, oh, okay, I'm starting to say it myself here. But so I want to kind of wrap things up here, and really kind of deep dive into who you are. If you were inviting someone to sit at a table like this and have a conversation with, and you allow them to pour into you, it's like, who do you listen to? Who would you list as people that you would allow to pour into your life?
That list is long, and but there's someone I want to point out today that has been always my supporter. The obvious answer is my husband. There is no one better on this earth than Martin Ramirez. He is the most kindest soul. Today I'm calling him to come clean out our entire garage on a Monday morning because I forgot they were coming, and here he comes. He's been out of the office for 10 days on another work trip. He has more enough to do. But the person I really want to highlight today is Jane Thomas. So Jane Thomas is from Midland and lived here when I was in high school. And she was very involved in the youth group that I attended. And she poured into me. She saw something in me, and she saw I could easily go off the right path. And she was right. I could have been off the right path if it wasn't for people like her who took time. And then ironically, when I moved to Houston, she was there as well, and she invited me to be part of a Bible study there. And to this day, she sends me a Bible verse every single morning at 6:30, just to encourage me through my day and to help me go through this life as a mom and a Christian and a business owner.
Wow. That's a really cool thing to have that kind of person in your life. So you highlighted her. If somebody was going to say, who would you choose? And they would choose you to highlight you. What do you want to be known for?
I tell my children this a lot. I want them to be kind, and I want them to be known as kids that are nice to everyone and, says hi to you every time they see you. I think that that's important to recognize people. And even when you're busy, to kind of take a step back and recognize, the community members around you. I think that I invested back into my community, and that I loved Midland and West Texas as a whole, that I was honest and true to who I am. And most importantly, that I was a really great mom.
Well, I appreciate who you are and getting to know you. I've known of you for a long time, but now I know who you are, and I appreciate that. Appreciate what you do for our community and really building up the pride in Midland. And so I'm looking forward to being a part of the Scout Guide. I know the catwalk will be there
Yes, we're excited
on
to have
September
y'all.
the 12th. And so we're excited about that, and we'll have some more information on social media for that. But thank you, Claire, for being here. Claire Ramirez, everyone. Thank you so much for joining with us. I want to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe on all of our platforms. Check us out at thecatwalkmediagroup.com. And also a big shout out to Second Story for the partnership that we have with the Second Story studio here in downtown Midland. Check them out at secondstory.co. Thanks. Have a great week. We'll see everybody next week.